Good morning. We are with the full-time multitasking ninja, or otherwise known as the pastor's wife. So we are just going to share a couple stories and talk about a couple things that we've seen over the last several years that we've been here. First thing I'll ask you, and I'll try not to interrupt and say you're saying that wrong, but tell us about coming in view of a call.
When we came in view of a call, I was pregnant with Elizabeth. Lillian Hanson told me this after the fact, many years after the fact. She said, I was pretty nervous about seeing what this California beach babe pastor's wife was going to look like. So when you got off the plane, 7 months pregnant, I was pretty relieved. It was a whirlwind weekend. We came, we did the interview. We knew right away that this was where God was calling us to next. So we had already set up a time to look at houses on that. So we had the whole weekend of interviews and meetings and all of that. Then Monday, we looked at, I want to say we looked at more than 20 houses.
It was a lot. I know we looked at, I thought it was like 13 or 14 because it just was a lot. Because it took about an hour to look at every house.
It was a super long day.
It was a long day.
We went to Cracker Barrel with our realtor and put in an offer on a house, and it was pretty much the church had to vote to call you, but we knew that if you were called, that this was where we were coming.
Our offer was in view. Remember when we made our offer, it was contingent on if the church called us to be the pastor of Riverwood. Yeah, that was a crazy weekend.
Called you to be the pastor.
Yeah.
I just pretend like I'm the pastor.
I'm not saying anything. So what are some of the ministries that you're involved with now? I know you're the pastor's wife, you are the full-time multitasking ninja. So what are some of the highlights of your ministry with this church now?
Well, probably most importantly would be to keep you in line.
Stop.
Right up there.
Just stop. Let them finish laughing. Okay.
Right now I see one of my biggest ministries is in the nursery, is hanging out with the kids in the nursery. That's an important one to me because I remember having little kids and feeling like, why in the world do I get dressed and get them dressed and come to church so that I can sit in the nursery with them? So I think it's really important for our parents that there's somebody who wants to hang out with their kids. And I love your preaching, but it's really fun to play in the nursery too.
Stop. Okay, they're done laughing. Go ahead.
Okay. And then as a full-time multitasking ninja, I kind of see my job as pastor's wife as doing whatever you need so that you're supported as the pastor. So a lot of times that's cooking things, hosting people, taking care of nursery, running programs, folding bulletins, cleaning toilets.
We've even talked about maybe learning how to play the guitar.
No, he's talked about learning how to play the guitar. It's not happening.
It's never been a positive conversation. What are some practical steps as being the pastor's wife, being the full-time multitasking ninja, to keep focus on what does God want for us? What does God have for you? How is He using you? And what are some practical steps that you are doing in your life to stay in that vein? We talked a couple of weeks ago about if you're not plugged in different ways, that dream leaks out and it begins to flatten. So what are some things that you do to stay completely in that vein?
When we first came here, it was easy because it was exciting and new. I remember it was the first Christmas we were here, writing our Christmas letter and saying how I never wanted to just do church again, but I always wanted to be actively and passionately and excitedly doing the work that God had called us to do in the church. So that's easy when it's new, and it gets harder when it's not new anymore. And when you take on too many things. So I learned fairly quickly on not to say yes to everything, even though I'm a multitasking ninja, that I only multitask on the things that God has called me to do. And that's supporting you in whatever way that you need me to. But it's not necessarily learning to play the piano or the guitar. And I guess unless that's what you really needed me to do, but I don't think we want to go there. Only saying yes to the things that God has called me to do. Because when you are doing the things that God has called you to do, you might be completely exhausted at the end of the day, but you are so happy that you were there and that you were doing it. And if that's how you are in the ministries that you're working in, then you know you're in the right areas. You should be completely exhausted, have spent everything you have for the day, but to still be so happy that you did it. I know I watched some of the other videos. I've been in the nursery, and so I haven't seen some of the videos live. I've appreciated that we have them on our Facebook page and on our YouTube channel. And so everybody else has kind of covered the really important stuff of spending time in the Word and in prayer and surrounding yourself with other believers. So I'll just leave it at that.
All right.
Only do what you're called to do.
This is our full-time multitasking ninja, otherwise known as the pastor's wife, Robin Fear.